Okay, just a brief video, just like a correction basically from the lecture notes, which came up as Chris was marking the compression question, one of the compression questions in the quiz. He may go through it in class or he may not, but I just thought I'd put a very brief explanation up here. It's not a very serious point or correction, but it's worth making just to make sure everything's technically correct. So in your notes, we defined the sort of official definition of what a compression attack or release time is. Was defined as the time it took for a signal to drop by 10 dB or increase by 10 dB, the gain of the signal to drop or increase by 10 dB after the initial change in the input signal. And now that definition is still used in the industry, particularly though more so in the it's more consistently used in the audio engineering industry. Hearing aid manufacturers have moved to comply with a set of IEC and ANSI, that's just like International Electrotechnical and American National Standard in a set of criteria or standards which differ slightly from that. So what's their definition of what a compression attack or release time is? It's not terribly difficult to understand, but I've drawn a little picture which I'll now try and share with you on the screen. Let me see if I can find it. Let's just share the entire screen and excuse any technical difficulties here. Okay, hopefully you are seeing my pointer and screen here. So what we've got on this little graph or little picture here is the input across time. So here's time going along, and this is the input level. So the input level starts at 50 dB SPL, and then at some point the input level goes up. And then it plateaus for a while, and then it goes back down again, back down to 50. Okay, so that's the input level of the signal. The gain has corresponding changes because it's a compression hearing aid that's listening to this input. And the gain for a 50 dB input is 30 dB, and that goes along, but there's that change in the signal input, and the input goes up to 80. And because of that, the hearing aid goes into compression, but it takes some time to do so. So over a period of time here, it goes into compression until it reaches a plateau, an area of minimal gain. Then as the signal goes back down again, so the signal input goes back down again, the gain goes back up again until again it reaches a plateau, back to 30 dB in this case. So the ANSI and IEC standards vary somewhat, but both essentially suggest that we should look at the criteria for an attack or release time should be relative to between 2 and 4 dB from the plateau. So essentially what that means is the signal's going along, then it gets louder. Now at that point, the time it takes for the signal, for the gain to drop to within either 2, 3, or 4 dB, depending on the standard you look at. But the time it takes after the input has changed for the gain to drop to within, let's just say 2 dB of the final gain level, you know, the new gain level, is the attack time. So here you can see the signal is going to, the signal has increased, the gain is going to drop from 30 and it's going to end up at 20. So the attack time then, if we're using a 2 dB, the 2 dB rule, which I think is the International Electrotechnical Committee's guidelines, we would say that its attack time is based on the point at which it reaches 18 dB gain. Okay, and similarly, now we're going along and the gain is still low. It's at 20 instead of 30 as it was at the start. Now the signal level decreases, so the input decreases up here, and so the gain is going to increase up to 30 again eventually, but our release time is not going to be the time it takes to get to 30, it's going to be the time it takes to get to 28 if we're going to use that 2dB rule again. So it's just slightly different technical definition of what the compression, attack, and release times are. Again, it's not really important for you to know that in terms of your everyday clinical life, but it is just technically correct to say that that's what they're now defined as in the industry. So I guess important to share that with you. Okay, now let's see if we can go back. Get rid of that. There we are. So hopefully that worked. And I'll release this video to you on the 805 site. And please, if you have any queries or questions about it, just pop them in the Cord 805 iLearn forum, and I or Chris will respond. Okay, cheers.